All right, welcome into the Mountaintop. I'm Everest Leach, and today I want to do a pretty big list, a pretty big ranking, one a lot of people in sports and sports entertainment, sports media will do every year pretty much. It's the NFL quarterbacks ranking, and specifically the top 10. Now, I don't always love comparisons when you take it at face value or you're being disingenuous to certain players or you clearly have narratives or bias plays into it. I think a lot can go wrong with comparisons in terms of sports and sports players. But I do love a good list. I love a good ranking. And this is one of my favorites to do. It's a really difficult one to do, top 10 quarterbacks, because so much goes into this, right? I mean, you have to factor in, at least for me, where this quarterback is going to be this season, or where you think they're going to be, where you're projecting them to be, what you think they can be. Their career up to this point has to matter, what they've done. And then you have, their wins and their playoff history versus their individual stats and accolades. Like, there's just a lot that can go into it. It's very nuanced, and so I try my best to kind of encapsulate as many data points as I can, and there's no perfect answer for a top 10 especially, but I tried my best, so we're going to get into that in just a second. I've got some honorable mentions that just didn't quite make the top 10 too that I want to share. Other stuff in sports, watched a little bit of Wimbledon this year, which is uncommon for me. I'm not generally a huge tennis fan, at least in terms of like sitting down and watching it, but there's not a whole lot else on right now other than MLB, which just had its All-Star break and All-Star game. So, yeah, watched some Wimbledon. Was rooting for Djokovic to, pull off a miracle and tie Federer for Wimbledon titles. That would have been really cool. He made it to the semis, which was awesome. But unfortunately got hurt. And then Jannik Sinner gets his first Wimbledon title, which I thought was pretty cool. The final between him and Alcaraz seems like those two have been at the top of the sport for a couple of years now, maybe, and I don't know if they're going to be at the level of, like, the tennis big three, Federer, Nadal, joke, but they were really awesome going at it together, and I think they've got both still a bright future ahead of them, so excited to see where that goes, and it was cool to see Sinner win. I like Sinner. So yeah, watched a little bit of Wimbledon. Home Run Derby was on the other night, but not a whole lot going on, and this is right around the time of summer, time of year where I start gearing back up for football. So, let's get into this with some honorable mentions as far as top 10 quarterbacks go. First guy I got to shout out that could not make my top 10, Gino Smith. He's been an awesome story, and he is a really good quarterback, particularly when he's not being pressured. The unfortunate thing for him, especially last season, was that Seattle couldn't really block anybody, so he was under pressure a lot, which led to last season for him being less consistent and just overall less impressive than 2023, the year before. But I still think Gino is a good quarterback. I think he's going to be solid for the Raiders in this sort of interim period for them where there's a lot of change going on. He already likes Pete Carroll, and so I think Gino will be solid, and I think he's right around that top 10, top 12 mark. For me, especially when you can keep a clean pocket, keep him protected. Gino's really good. He's accurate. He's still got a little bit of athleticism, even at 34. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Gino, but there are some limitations when he gets pressured. He is not the same quarterback. He threw a lot of interceptions last year. So, yeah, hoping for maybe a bit more of a clean season from him over there in Las Vegas. Next up, Jordan Love just misses my top 10. I would literally have him, 12, 11 even. I think Jordan Love, the upside and the potential is obviously immense. He is wildly physically gifted, and he makes hero plays and throws that shouldn't be possible. Shades of Aaron Rodgers, shades of Brett Favre, whatever you want to call it. These Packers know how to draft quarterbacks, and I like him a lot. I also think his injuries throughout the course of last season played a role in him not looking as impressive as we maybe expected him to after his rookie year. Or not rookie year, but, first year really playing. I think he's still good. I do think the biggest positive for him going forward would to be if he can learn to just take the checkdowns, take what's in front of him, know that he doesn't have to play hero ball on 1st and 10 every single drive, because I think that gets him in some trouble. He makes some mistakes in that regard. So yeah, Jordan Love just outside the top 10. And then the other guy who was the toughest cut from this top 10 for me is CJ Stroud, a guy that I love. I like the Texans organization, especially how they've retooled since Deshaun Watson. D'Amico Ryans, I think, is a good coach, and I do think CJ Stroud is really impressive. I watched him at Ohio State, and he lit it up his rookie year, and if he had followed up his rookie year with another year just like it last year, he would be in this top 10. However, last year was a very clear step back, and that's, sophomore slump. Teams have more tape on him. He was also the most pressured and the most hit quarterback in the league last year, which of course has something to do with it. But the stats just do not back up what I need to see from him in order to put him in the top 10. I do think going forward, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. But yeah, last year a little bit of a down year, and then makes it basically just as far as he did in the playoffs in his rookie year last year, making it to the divisional round. So I do want to see a little bit of a bounce back from CJ, and then I have no problem putting him back in that top 10. He lands just outside of it. Okay, let's get going. My number 10 and number 9 are maybe some slightly controversial picks that you could see people wanting swapped out for Jordan Love, for a CJ Stroud, or even a Gino Smith, a Kyler Murray, whatever. But my number 10 is Jared Goff, quarterback for the Detroit Lions. I've been really impressed with his play over the past 2 seasons. And when looking at it compared to CJ Stroud, yes, CJ has maybe not made the catastrophic mistakes in the playoffs like Goff did last year against Washington. But I think looking at the regular season stats, the past 2 years, Goff has been as good or better, and really just so consistent, taking care of the ball, playing perfect football for that Detroit Lions team. He does exactly what they need him to in 90% of game situations. And so I think that's really valuable. I think he is definitely a leader, definitely a team player, and he has talent. People forget he was the number 1 overall pick out of Cal. Can throw balls in tight windows. He does a couple of boneheaded, the Jared Goofball moniker will still get thrown his way a couple times a season. And it is a problem that really happened in the divisional round against Washington this past postseason. But I still think he's kind of on the tail end of his prime, so we've got a little bit more good football out of Jared Goff for sure. And I think 10's a good spot for him because he's been prolific these past 2 regular seasons, and even in that first playoff run, he played solid football. They come up short in the NFC Championship. I think Goff deserves a lot of credit, so he's my number 10. My number 9 is another guy kind of similar to Goff, who's been shipped off from his initial landing spot and sort of bounced around to a bunch of teams, and is now finding a second home, and that's Baker Mayfield. Really, really impressed with Baker. I mean, him and Goff are both up there for some of the top advanced passing statistics in the league from last season. They were both really, really good. Baker, the stats are there now. The yards are there. We knew he had some talent coming in, and some of the slight character concerns with him, leadership concerns, I think he's matured. I think this is a more mature Baker Mayfield. I think he feels valued in Tampa, and he's been putting up great numbers, and he's a guy who can go in and beat pretty much anybody on any given Sunday. We saw Tampa walk in and take care of Detroit last year. That game might have been at home. I'm not entirely sure, but they beat them. They beat the Lions when they were scorching hot, one of Detroit's only losses all season. And he just feels like a gamer. He feels like he knows when to make the big play, how to make it. And as an Eagles fan particularly, the Buccaneers have given me nightmares over the past several seasons under the Jaylen Herz, Nick Sirianni era, because we cannot seem to beat them. So Baker, obviously he's got some good weapons. They get another one in Ibuka for him this year. I think that should be super fun. And I'm expecting the Bucs to be back in the playoffs. And I value that consistency, and I value the numbers Baker's putting up. I think 9's a good spot for him. Coming in at number 8 for me, it's going to be a guy some people might have a couple spots higher, and that's Justin Herbert. a player I have defended for virtually his entire career. I love Justin Herbert. I love his personality, and still the talent on the field, like the raw eye test, watching him at his best, it is staggering. Like, the guy can throw pretty much anything he wants to on the field. He's got the athleticism to match. He's like 6'5", 6'6". Physical specimen, really likable player, and did put up great numbers throughout the first 5 years of his career. Now, last couple, it's come down a tiny bit. Jim Harbaugh obviously is going to run the ball a little bit more, play a much more balanced brand of football than I think Herbert was used to, and they did win more regular season games. And I'm going to expect that to continue. I think the Chargers will be good again this year. But he lands at 8 because we're going into, his 6th year in the league? Maybe his 7th already, and he hasn't won a playoff game yet. Last year, they make the playoffs. They go 11-6, and they run into the Texans in the wild card, and Herbert throws 4 interceptions, which, to be fair to him, is more than he threw the entire regular season, which is awesome for the regular season, really bad for the playoffs. So, when you're going into a 6th year, a 7th year, and people are talking about you like you're Jesus, which I was for a little bit. I thought this guy was remarkable. I think he still can be, but at a certain point, you're not a young up-and-comer with potential. You've got to show results in the postseason. Herbert hasn't been able to get it done yet. Now, that's not all on him, but until his team and him can put it together for a bit of a postseason run, I think 8's about as high as I can go. 7. We're gonna go with the rookie. We're gonna go with Jayden Daniels here. This is maybe another pick that some people would say, well, he's only had 1 year. Where would you have had C.J. Stroud if it was just after his rookie season? And look what happened last year. Similar things could happen for Jayden Daniels. He definitely could come down a little bit in terms of sophomore slump, teams getting more tape on him. But that rookie season from him is just so impressive. I mean, he rushes on the ground for almost 900 yards, in addition to 3,500 passing yards and 25 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Really, really good advanced statistics, too, and he's a baller. He's impossible to game plan for, at least he was during his rookie season, because he is 80% of Lamar Jackson, the athlete, while being accurate with a big arm. And not that Lamar isn't a great passer. We're going to see how high up on this list he is. But Jayden, I think, has a chance to be really special. He's still so young, and there's a little bit of projection coming into this, but it's also just validating what he did last year, taking the Commanders to the NFC Championship game and beating Jared Goff and the Lions. Even as an Eagles fan, and he's in my division, I don't like it, but I have the utmost respect for what he did and how consistent he was throughout the course of the rookie season. I mean, you hit the Hail Mary, and people think, oh, that's a cute story, and then you just keep doing it week after week after week. And I think it's one of the better rookie quarterback seasons we've ever seen. That's why I'm going to put him at 7 already, and if that comes crashing down, then that happens. But I have a lot of faith in the kid. But above him, I'm going to go with a vet, an all-time vet, Matt Stafford. Still, one of the guys you just want in a big spot under the helm at quarterback. He still has it, especially when he's healthy. We saw last year he deals with some injuries. He's not looking the best. The Rams get healthy. He starts cooking, feeling like himself, and they turn into a borderline juggernaut at the end of the season that took the defending champion Eagles to the brink. I mean, the Rams were their toughest game. They almost lost that. And yeah, Stafford's excellent. He's always been one of the more talented throwers of the football we've seen since coming to the Rams. I think he's smarter. Obviously has a great play caller and partner there in Sean McVay. And he is getting on the older side, which is why I can't put him any higher. He does only have the one Super Bowl, but that was still a great run from him, and he's been back in the playoffs multiple times since. So Stafford, also growing up in Michigan, I love the guy. Cheered for him on the Lions a lot. And it's just good to see him in a really well-run organization now, because Detroit, during the time he was there, was anything but. It's good they've turned it around now with Jared Goff, but I still think that trade was pretty win-win for both teams, and I think the Rams are going to be set to contend for at least one more year if Stafford is healthy, even though he's getting up there in age. But, yeah, love Stafford. Moving into the top 5, number 5, I'm going to have the Super Bowl MVP himself, Jaylen Herz. And yes, there's going to be a little bit of Eagles fan bias that comes into this. He's my quarterback, and he just won the Super Bowl for me. I love the guy. But I do think, like, winning in the playoffs and winning Super Bowls and making Super Bowls, and not only that, but playing well when the lights are at their brightest on the biggest stage is important, and Jaylen Herz has done all of that. He has one of the highest Super Bowl passer ratings of any quarterback in the history of the league. He's been sensational in both Super Bowl games he's played in. Obviously, one turnover in both of them. In this last one, which he won, it didn't end up mattering that much. In the previous Super Bowl against the Chiefs, yeah, the fumble sucked, but he also had, well over 300 all-purpose yards and like 4 touchdowns. He was really good. And then in this one, obviously, the Chiefs kind of shut down Saquon, and Jalen's still able to make him pay, and they win that Super Bowl. And does winning the Super Bowl not matter? But even aside from that, the guy just wins in the regular season. It's all he does, and yes, he has a good team around him. You have to have a good team around you in order to make and win Super Bowls. But Jaylen Herz is still the leader of this team. He still puts up a lot of touchdowns. Granted, sure, some of them are tush pushes. A lot of them are tush pushes from 1 yard outside of the end zone. But where's the line or the slippery slope in just not counting tush pushes when we talk about quarterbacks or anything like that? Like, yeah, he could have handed the ball off to his running back, but he didn't. He did it himself, and that's 6 points. 6 points is 6 points. It doesn't matter if it's a 50-yard bomb or a 1 yard rushing touchdown, because nobody else is doing it at the level that Jaylen Herz can. That's a specific skill that he brings at the quarterback position, and I think all around, yes, he has some flaws, but even despite, people want to say he can't throw as well as a lot of these other guys, he had the highest completion percentage over expected in the league this past year. He was completing the most passes that you're not really supposed to be able to complete or are, above the average in the league. That shows you he's really good. And also, he knows he has a good team. He takes care of the ball. He had the fewest, poor throws or turnover-worthy plays out of most quarterbacks in the league. So I think Jalen's really good. I think he maybe is not the dynamic alien thrower of the football. He doesn't accrue the numbers that a Joe Burrow, who I'm going to talk about right now next, has, but he deserves to be in the top 5. We can't be putting Justin Herbert, who hasn't won a playoff game, above him when Hertz just won the Super Bowl and is the Super Bowl MVP and has played really well in 2 Super Bowls and the NFC Championship game against the Commanders before this. Anyways, Joe Burrow, he still gets to land in this top 4 because I do believe he is just one of the best throwers of the football in the league and of the past 20 years. Since I've been watching football, Joe Burrow is incredible, and the stats and the numbers he put up last season proved it. I mean, that touchdown to interception ratio along with the yards, it's insane. Some of that now probably does come with the fact that their defense was terrible. He was on the field a lot. He was always trying to come from behind. But Burrow's been good since he stepped in the league. Obviously, he gets injured his rookie year. Then they go to the Super Bowl, and he beats Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship. He's now one of pretty much 2 active players that have beaten Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. It's him and Jaylen, and that's essentially it. So I think Burrow's really good. The only knock on him is he's got to get into the playoffs again. He hasn't been there since 2022. And we can keep putting him up there in this top tier, just like I am, because I do think he's that good. And I do think on a lot of other situations, on a lot of other rosters, if you want to play that game, he would be more successful. But he's in the situation he is. And I can't keep putting him above a guy like Jaylen Herz, who's making the playoffs every year he started, winning Super Bowls, if Joe Burrow can't even make the playoffs. So, he's here right now. The one caveat, you got to get back in the postseason, Joe. But, yeah, he's an awesome player. All right, now we get to the pretty much unanimous top 3. I'm going to start with Lamar Jackson at 3. This is a guy you can put at 2. Some people will even put him at 1, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. But he is in my 3. I love Lamar Jackson. He is as dynamic of a player, an offensive player, as we've seen in the history of this game. The way he's developed as a passer throughout the past couple of seasons is really remarkable. And I honestly thought if you were just going off of, if you weren't paying attention to who you gave it to before, and that he already had 2, and that Josh was deserving, Lamar could have been the MVP last year. Look at his numbers. They were that good. But aside from that, he's just a baller. Like, the numbers he puts up, the way he stresses and puts threats on defenses is unlike anybody else in the league, just with his dynamic rushing ability. He's probably the best rushing quarterback we've ever seen. And the way he can extend plays, make plays with his arm. He's excellent. He's definitely one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. However, he also has still a little bit of a playoff caveat. Now, he's gotten better. His past couple playoff runs, I don't think he's played poorly necessarily, but he has still dropped from his absurd regular season production. And it's like, what's the reason for that, Lamar? Like, come on. Let's pick it up. So I want to see him break through in the playoffs, but you can argue with the fact that he's one of the best regular season players ever, and he does it year in and year out, and he's gotten healthy the past couple years, which was a big thing for him early on. So I'm a big fan of Lamar, and I'm rooting for him to pull through in the playoffs, because then he can shoot right up to number 2, above Josh Allen, who I have there right now. And while Josh Allen doesn't put up the gaudy numbers that Lamar has and the efficiency that Lamar has in the regular season to this point, he has consistently done what the Bills have needed to get into the playoffs, and then in the playoffs he's played better than Lamar. He's made it further than Lamar consistently, which is what lands him ahead of Lamar here. Now, he still hasn't beaten the Chiefs in a playoff game. That's a big dark spot looming over him, I think. And I believe he's going to get it done eventually. But at a certain point, it's like, can he beat Mahomes? Because people are putting him above Mahomes in rankings. And I get it. The physical talent is there. He's clearly incredible. He's the reigning MVP. But he didn't beat Mahomes in the playoff. And he never has. And Mahomes keeps outplaying him when it matters the most. And Josh just can't seem to get it done. But aside from that, he's definitely the number 2 guy in the league for me. He's who I'd want. I think he's incredible. His rushing ability and his overall athleticism, plus his arm, is just insane. He's another one of those guys who can throw it wherever he wants on the field. But, yeah, he comes in at number 2. Mahomes, Patrick, you're still number 1. I don't think this should be an argument yet. Some people are like, well, the numbers have been so down the past couple seasons. Like, in terms of statistically speaking, he's just not, you can't justify him putting him at the top spot. All he's done is make Super Bowls throughout his entire career. And it's been whatever the Chiefs have needed him to do. He has had to carry so much of an offensive load on third down, in the red zone, on crucial plays, that they're just not constructed for him to have these big numbers these past couple of seasons. And the fact that he's still getting these teams, quarterbacking these teams to the Super Bowl year after year, I think is impressive, incredibly so. There's just, I can't put someone above him until he doesn't make the Super Bowl, basically. Because, like, unless Hertz is going to beat him another time, and then we talk about, well, look at that, he's got to be above him. Nobody in the AFC can beat him. He's played 7 seasons, and he's made the AFC Championship, overtime in the AFC Championship every time. And he does have the 2 MVPs and Offensive Player of the Year. You know, he has put up prolific stats. We know he can do it. That's not what the Chiefs' offense have been able to do in order to succeed the past couple years. Maybe we'll see a return to form for that. But it's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to overthink it. He's still the best quarterback in the league. So, that's my top 10. It goes Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, Jayden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, my guy Jaylen Herz, the Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champ, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. Tell me what you guys think. Give me your list down below. This is, like I said, it's impossible to do it perfectly. If you want to throw a CJ Stroud in there, I have no issue with that. If you want to put Herbert up higher, A lot of people are doing it. If you want, Hertz is lower on a lot of people's lists. So I get it. There's a lot of nuance to this, and I tried to do the best job I could. So let me know what you think. Other than that, this has been a lot of fun. This has been the Mountaintop, and I've been Everest Leach. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.